Hello, everybody. A warm welcome to Wisdom from North, the place where we're diving into the deeper meaning of life and asking the big questions. My name is Jannike, and today I'm here with wonderful Diana Cooper on my show again. Now, when Diana was 42 years old, she had an encounter with an angel, and this completely changed her life. She opened up to the angelic and the heavenly realm, and today she works as a spiritual teacher. She has written around 28 books, which is amazing, and she travels the world and she talks about Orbs, Ascension, Golden Atlantis, unicorns, and angels. And these are the topics we will delve into today. Hello, Diana. How are you?
Hello. Lovely to see you.
Yes. I interviewed you, I think in 2012 or 2013. And I watched that interview the other day, and it was just in the beginning of my show. So I was very new to all of this. And then you just popped up in my mind the other day, and I felt like I really wanted to explore more of orbs and unicorns, and even more about Golden Atlantis. Because I've understood that the unicorns are actually connected to Atlantis, and you have a lot of information. You've written a book about Atlantis. And before we go into that, can you tell us a little bit about how you get the knowledge and the information?
I receive it mostly from my guide, but also some of the angels.
Yeah, because you have a guide who's called Kumika.
Kumika, yeah.
Kumika.
And I work mostly with Archangel Metatron. And Metatron is leading the ascension process of the planet. So he comes through me with ascension information and advice and guidance and help.
And I just want to say to my viewers that if you want to hear more about the story about the encounter with the angel, you can watch our previous interview with the eye up here. So, yeah. So, Atlantis, how long ago was that actually? It was a long period of time, right?
Atlantis was the longest civilization there's been on the planet. It lasted for 260,000 years. But of that period, only 1,500 years created the Golden Age. So there were 5 experiments. The Golden Age came up with the last one, and each experiment was terminated because humanity lowered their frequency to an unacceptable level. But in the Golden Age, which is what Discover Atlantis is about, the people were so high frequency and they raised the energy around them so much and lived such joyful lives that they were, that time created the amazing spiritual technology that we remember Atlantis for. And many, many people now are opening up their memory banks, remembering who they were, what they did, bringing forward crystal healing, all kinds of plant healing, and the other things that they used in Atlantis.
Yes, because you're saying that this is coming back. Like we're moving towards a golden era, in a way. Yeah, and this will start to shift around 2032, right?
Right. And so in 2012, of course, there was the cosmic moment. That marked the final termination, the tying up of the loose ends of Atlantis. So that era took 10,000 years to tie up the loose ends. And then we are now starting again. So on the 21st of December 2012, we started a new level. At that moment, source energy touched the hearts of every sentient being, not just on Earth, throughout this universe, throughout every single universe. Every universe started its process of moving to a level higher. But the reason Earth is so special is that we have to make a double dimensional shift. All the other universes were just moving up one dimension. But Earth had gone much, much lower than any other plane of existence. The reason for this is because we agreed to the experiment of free will. And when we did so, we went down in deeper and denser energy than anyone had ever imagined possible. Also, Earth is the solar plexus of the universe. You know how you take in energy through your solar plexus? You're watching, it's a very psychic energy, and you take other people's fears through your solar plexus. So South Africa is the solar plexus of Earth, and that's why it's had such a difficult time and is receiving so much help from the universe. And Earth is the solar plexus of this universe. Now, for these two reasons, we are having to do in 20 years a double dimensional shift. All the beings from the universes are watching us because this is such an extraordinary thing to do. And we have the 20-year period between 2012 and 2032 to make this double dimensional shift. People are opening up very, very rapidly, and there are higher beings coming in all the time to help us. So it is the most extraordinary but challenging time to live in.
There's so much information here, and I have so many questions popping up in my mind. So it's like, which one to take? You're saying many other universes.
Yes.
Can you expand a little bit on that? Because to me, I think it's difficult to wrap my mind around many other universes.
Okay. My understanding is that there are 12 universes. And so our universe was fourth dimensional. Only Earth was third dimensional. And so our universe is moving into the fifth dimension. We have to follow suit. Lady Gaia is insisting that everyone is fifth dimensional by 2032. So the fifth dimensional universe moves into the sixth moves into the seventh, the 12th one moves and reintegrates with Source, and a new first dimensional universe has been created. And so it's been a massive, massive time of movement for every being, wherever they are. Now, I know your next question is on the tip of your tongue, but I'm on a roll. And,
Okay.
And so there are many beings from very high frequency universes now coming into the planet to try to help us. Just as there are wise old souls being born, just as there are creatures from all sorts of places carrying high frequency energy in their energy fields coming in now to try and light our way. This is the most extraordinary time of opportunity if we're prepared to take it.
But when you say that there are more highly advanced beings from other universes, I thought there were highly advanced beings in this universe, like, you know, on Orion and Sirius and, you know, extraterrestrials, like that they are living on other dimensions, not the fourth.
Yeah, many of those, if their planets have ascended, are seventh dimensional. Now, that's the same dimension as the angels. But I'm talking about the 9th and 10th dimensional universes, and we are receiving many beings from those universes.
You know, like I understood what I thought now, because I think too narrow. Like I'm thinking that the universe, my universe, our universe is this bowl. And outside there, you have other universes. And inside this universe, you have, you know, the Pleiadians and Orions. But it's not like that. I mean, it's dimensions within the universe. So
well,
I just,
absolutely.
Yeah, I just understood
now
how that was possible.
Everything is very simple and everything is very complex.
Yes.
It just depends which way you look at it. And the bottom line is we are all one. One universe isn't better than another. It's just a different frequency band.
Right. Yeah, and it gets confusing with words as well, you know, because words are very limiting. It's not like I can picture what you are seeing in your mind, you know. But I think I got something interesting now.
But then I have to say that everybody that's teaching spiritual information is actually, it's not the words that they use that's important. It's the energy they carry in their energy fields. That is what unlocks keys and codes in other people and enables them to open up more quickly. So it doesn't really matter what you say. That's just information. Right. It's the other energy that comes through that's important.
Yeah, that makes sense. I read something that I thought was very interesting in this book. Or it's about orbs. You wrote it many years ago, and I found it in the shelf. You wrote about priests and priestesses from Golden Atlantis, like Ra and Thoth and Isis and Horus, and that they dispersed out to different places on Earth. And I thought that was so interesting, and I hope you remember some of it, even though it was years ago. That if you can tell us a little bit about that, because I've always been especially drawn to Ra and those Egyptian ones and Isis. So can you tell us a little bit about what that's about?
Yeah, there's also a lot more information in Discover Atlantis. At the end of Atlantis, there were 12 tribes. And one of those high priests or priestesses was in charge of each of those tribes. They made a crystal skull which contained all the information of their tribes, and they took this crystal skull with them. So when the fall came, then they each took those remaining in their tribes of high frequency to a different part of the planet that had already been prepared for them. So as you know, Ra went to Egypt, and there were those who went to the Egyptian countries and became gods in Egypt, and there were those who went to South America, like Peru and the Incas, the Aztecs, all of those, Isis, they were all high priestesses in the golden era of Atlantis, taking their particular brand of knowledge with them. For example, Zeus carried pure white peace energy. He took his tribe to Tibet, and they started the Buddhist religion of peace. And so all the different parts of the planet that carry great wisdom, it nearly all comes from the golden era of Atlantis.
So, did they live for a long time? I mean, it seems like they accomplished a lot. Like, who is Ra? Like, you're saying he's a priest, for instance, just to take Ra. I've never quite understood what Ra is and what Horus and Isis. I mean, we know them in our history, but...
You want to know about the energy of a high priest or priestess.
Well, is it a human?
Sorry?
Is it a human being or just an advanced human being, or is it a god, or is it like something in between? Or
I'm just going to tell you. The high priests and priestesses were at the upper level of the fifth dimension. But even they in that time could only move into the sixth dimension for a very short time. And then they would have to come back into their physical body in order to maintain the body. Now, they had awesome gifts. They had powers beyond our comprehension. They could fly. They could telepathically communicate with other planes of existence, other universes. They oversaw the buildings of the great temples of Atlantis. They were amazing. They would gather at the great temple every so often, and a great trapdoor would open up, and they would pour their light and their energy onto the people below. And the people below would receive this light into their energy fields, and it would help them to maintain their high frequency too. And then in exchange, they would send love energy back to the high priests and priestesses. So there was a continuation of constant respect, balance, and love going on between all the people of that time, which is how they maintained the energy, how they were able to communicate with the elemental beings in crystals and allow the crystals to do so much.
So would you say that Ra is kind of a divinity now that we can contact and have as a guide or pray to, for instance?
Ra is a very high frequency master. They were all masters. They were all on the human ray. They were not angelic. And so, because the angelic ray is different from the human ray. And so they were all high frequency masters who came in at that time to help.
Very interesting. And I just wrote down that Thoth went to Machu Picchu, Isis to South America, to Aztec,
Yeah.
Aztec, Horus to Babylon, and Ra to Egypt to build the Sphinx.
And the pyramids.
So he was involved with that. Well, that makes sense. This is really exciting news. I'm looking forward to it when it comes to the history books, you know?
Won't that be good?
Yes. Well, so let's move on to the unicorns. Because is it true that they are coming back now? That they were also more active, I guess, during the Atlantis golden era, and now they're coming back?
In Atlantis, everyone was open psychically. Everyone had a unicorn, and they were aware of their unicorn with them, even if it was as a pure white light. And that unicorn would shower them with blessings and love and light and hold their frequency high. At the end of Atlantis, the energy went down too low. The unicorns had to withdraw because they couldn't bring their energy down that far. Then in 1987, at the harmonic convergence, so this started at the start of the period of purification of the Earth, appeared a crack in the stargate of Lyra, and the unicorns took the opportunity, or some unicorns took the opportunity of slipping through that crack. They saw people with lights on over their heads to say that they were in service, and the unicorns went to those people and helped them to do what they wanted to do, to serve. And so many people connected with those seventh dimensional unicorns. But last year, in 2015, the Stargate of Lyra opened fully. Now, you might remember that last year we had all these supermoons, incredible high-frequency moons pouring the divine feminine into Earth. Archangel Christiel, who is in charge of the moon and in charge of the Stargate of Lyra, poured his energy through the moon onto us to raise our frequency. So last year, when the Stargate opened, 9th dimensional golden horned unicorns started to come in. They again are touching people who are ready. They are taking them into much higher levels, pouring their light into them. Since last year, we have been able to access energies higher than ever before. Now, everyone can link into 2 dimensions higher than they are. So if you're a 3rd dimensional person, you can link into the 5th dimension, and you can touch the angels in the 7th dimension. Is that clear?
Yeah.
If you're a 5th dimensional person and you live your life in service and cooperation and kindness and goodness and on your ascension path, then you're connected to the 7th dimension and you can link into the 9th dimension. And so last year, many 9th dimensional energies opened up and poured into the planet for people to access.
Is it that specific that now I'm on the 4th and now I'm on the 5th? Isn't it like you're kind of moving a little bit forth and back?
Sure, we move forward and backward, but the more consistently you live your life at a higher frequency, the more you stay in the 5th dimension, and your 5th dimensional chakra column comes down, and then you become fully in the 5th dimension.
You said Lyra. What is Lyra?
Lyra. It's a stargate in the universe, through where Christiel has his home. And Archangel Christiel works with the causal chakra, which is above the head. And this itself is a portal. When it's open, then you can connect with the angels, the higher illumined masters, the unicorns, and higher spirits.
But these unicorns, like, I didn't know even that existed, you know. I thought it was just the fairy tales. And It still it still puzzles me that I include something in my belief system and other things I'm like, no, I don't think so. Like mermaids, even that I think I saw that you mentioned mermaids. I'm like, but that's not real. But are they?
Sure, but they're not in our wavelength. So most people can't see them or hear them. But mermaids are elementals, and they look after the flora and fauna in the oceans.
So they exist in another dimension again, or?
Well, it's as simple as imagining that you're tuning in a television set into different stations to different programs. And so if you've got a television that can connect with various different programs, then you can connect with the beings in those programs, the elementals, the dragons, the unicorns, whatever. But if you are always on the same program, then you can't connect with the other beings in the universe. And more people now are tuning their inner antennae into different wavelengths.
So that's probably why we have them in the fairy tales, because they
knew.
Someone has known.
Absolutely. Isn't it interesting how pictures of dragons have been consistent, because that's how psychics saw them, how unicorns have been consistent, angels have always appeared in a similar way, and it's because that's what psychics saw.
So dragons, for instance, what do they represent? Is that really a bad thing, like the shadow sides of us? Or
absolutely not.
No.
Dragons are open-hearted, high-frequency beings. Again, they were very much in Atlantis, and the fourth dimensional elemental dragons have done something awesome for us on Earth. At the end of Atlantis, they were offered promotion into the fifth dimension. They were offered ascension, and they turned it down. The reason they turned it down was because they so love Earth and humanity. They said humanity will need us in the period between 2012 and 2032. And so we are going to stay in the fourth dimension because we can help much more. The reason they can help more is that angels can come down, say, to this frequency, but dragons can delve deep, deep into much denser matter. So, for example, if you have a war zone, what my guide says is send the dragons to clear the deep, dense energy underneath and around the people, then send the angels to light the area up, and then send the unicorns to pour their high-frequency pure light on top. And so that way, each one on their different waveband is doing a task.
I mean, it sounds so fantastic, but in a way I'm wondering about how it's relative to my practical life and other people's practical life, because that is not what I see. Like, I see so much horror in this world, and even though I think about an angel or ask an angel to appear, it doesn't get easier. I don't feel like it gets
okay. Well, we have
easier.
a choice. We can focus on war and horror, and of course whatever we focus on increases. That will come into your life. That's what you'll see. That's what you'll be made aware of. Or you can focus on the beauty, the joy, the good things, the kindness, the wonderful acts that are taking place. More of that will come to your notice, and more of that will be drawn into your life. We are at this crisis point in the planet where we're being asked to focus on the vision of the new age, a time of cooperation, of togetherness, of barriers breaking down, of acceptance, of people all working together. So the new age is about oneness. What's more, it will bring back all the gifts and wisdom of Atlantis, but at a frequency higher. So we are heading for something so much better.
So you don't get discouraged when you look at the news, for instance, because I tend to, be open to these kinds of concepts and thoughts, even though I haven't experienced anything like you. But then I watch the news and I just lose faith in a way.
Again, you have a choice. You can see the horror, or you could see the horror and use your light to send light to those people, to touch it, to use the power of your mind to create something new and different.
Yeah,
Enough people use their power.
Yes, I do
their
believe
thoughts,
that too.
Their visions,
yes,
to help the world. It would be a different place instantly.
I think perhaps we might be afraid that someone is fooling us, because we've been brought up to, or many people, I can't say we, many people, and myself included, have been brought up in this rational world. And you're afraid that, if you start opening up to this, and what if it's not like that, What if you were deceived and you were just so naive in a way? So you fall back to being rational, that's...
So what I'm hearing is that you'd rather be rational and unhappy and doubting, miserable, than believe in a better world where you can have the power to create something good for yourself.
Well, that's the paradox, and that's the shadow with the human beings, right? I mean, why do we do like we do? It's because it's not that easy to just think positively, because we do have our past, and we do have a difficult life, and we do have difficult minds who, for instance, are giving us negative self-talk and etc. So, I mean, it is a challenge. I wouldn't say it's very easy to do this, but I see that there is a choice, but it's very, very hard work. It is hard work.
I think that the more you do it, the easier it becomes. It's like anything. When you start out, it feels really tough. Then as you get into the rhythm of the new, it becomes easier and easier. And of course, the good news is that when you raise your frequency in that way, you start attracting positive things into your life. And when you do have challenges, you have tools to overcome them with.
And I think it takes courage as well, because I think you have to take the leap to actually dare to believe in something you can't see. Because what I find is that, I interview all these people, and including you, who have seen this, like you have proof in a way. And then people like me have not seen it. So I have to just trust on, just believing it. And people are believing in so many weird things in the world, so many different things that are serving us or not serving us. So to me, I've always been wanting an experience, so I know for myself,
Well, there you have it. We have a choice. There's faith and there's blind faith. We have to discern whether it's blind faith and we're just following what others have told us, or it's true faith and we're listening to our inner, our intuition, our psychic gut.
Yeah.
And that is what anybody has on earth. When I was brought up by a totally logical background, everyone was professional. To their dying day, my parents thought I was crazy and derided everything I said or stood for. But I knew, and that's the only thing that matters, that I knew in my heart that this was right and that I had been supported time and time again by the angels. And when they came in and asked me to write about them, first of all, I said, no way. And then when they asked me if it was my ego or my higher self doing my work, I agreed. And from that moment, they supported me every inch of the way. Now, I made mistakes, but I can't blame the angels for that. I made mistakes because I'm a fallible human being. But they just helped me pick up the pieces and carry on. They never judge.
Yeah, I mean, you are incredibly strong and courageous. And I just saw someone I interviewed, Lily Bendriss. She's talking about galactic beings and she's channeling them. And she just had a an article in a newspaper where she said there were times where I thought about withdrawing because I had so many horrible mails, and written to me and things said about me. And I know that she's very, very strong. Like, I see her power and I know her a little bit. And I think it takes people like that to be able to stand in it, because if spiritual teachers would start to be unsure, then people who are listening to you would be unsure, So, of course, you are, I think you should be a human being and be honest. Of course, you do mistakes, like you're saying. But it seems like you and many people, many spiritual teachers, have this very deep strength inside of them. And that really inspires me.
Well, good, because presumably they wouldn't have sent me in to do this job if they didn't give me enough qualities to be able to do it.
Right.
And obviously, they set me tests and challenges, and each time you overcome one, then you're a little bit stronger. It's a process. It's a step-by-step process. Right. And everybody's going through it in one way or another.
Yeah, I believe that too. So, over to something completely different. I saw that you spoke about the Merkabah. And that is something I've seen online, and I see that... some people are talking about it, but I haven't understood what it is. So I thought maybe you can explain it.
Well, this is to do with your fifth dimensional energy body.
Okay.
So when you reach a certain frequency, the pyramid comes up and a pyramid comes down over your energy fields. And that is the Merkabah. And that's your light body. It contains all the light you have ever earned throughout your soul journey.
Okay.
That's its importance. It enables you to connect right up into the highest frequencies and down into hollow earth. Okay. And so that's why it's important. Now, a lot of people talk about the Merkabah, but once you then contain divine feminine wisdom, that Merkabah becomes an orb. It becomes a circle. The reason for this is because a circle or an orb can carry more light than a pyramid shape.
So divine feminine, what did you say? Divine feminine?
Wisdom.
Wisdom. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Because you said that is coming in now, especially.
Well, it is, because Earth has been out of balance for thousands and thousands of years. We've been much too masculine dominated. Women have allowed themselves to be subjugated as part of the experiment, and now many women are claiming their power. And so the divine feminine energy, the wisdom, is coming back in many ways. It's coming through the unicorns. It's coming through the moon and bathing us, especially when there's a supermoon. Mm-hmm. It's coming through those women who are standing up and saying, enough, we stand in our power. But you can't do that with masculine energy. You have to do that with the wisdom energy. Remember that the divine feminine wisdom is more powerful than the masculine energy.
It is?
Much more powerful. Men are frightened of it, have always been frightened of it. But it is coming forward now to come into balance.
But that doesn't mean that men don't have divine feminine...
Absolutely.
Inside, right?
They certainly do. And as each human being balances internally, then the planet can come into balance.
Yes, I hear that so many places now. It's amazing.
It's very important.
Yes. So let's speak a little bit about spiritual laws, because I think it was in this book you spoke about that there are 33 spiritual laws and then 3 laws that are very important. And I thought that was so interesting. And you said, like, when you go down the road, you know that you have to stop at the red lights, that's laws we have here, like rules, etc. So I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about maybe those most important spiritual laws.
Well, the laws all tell you something, like the law of karma tells you that if you do something, it's going to come back to you in like form sometime. And so, very good idea to keep your balance sheets balanced. There are three transcendent laws: the law of grace, the law of mercy, and the law of oneness. Now, when you use those laws, like grace is offering total release and forgiveness to someone. When you do that, then miracles can happen. When you work with oneness, there is no separation, and at that point, anything can take place. So the transcendent laws are really alchemical energies that enable you to move mountains.
What was the third? Transcendent.
Was it mercy?
Mercy, yeah, right. Mercy, oneness, and grace. Okay. So if you can work with them in your everyday life, like for instance, oneness, I can put myself in your shoes in a way and just feel like you are me and we're ultimately one. So what I do to you I will do to myself. Just get into that mindset.
There is no separation between us, the animals, the reptiles, anybody.
Right.
Energetically, we're all interconnected and merged.
So you mentioned orbs. Can you tell us a little bit about what orbs are actually? I mean, for those who don't know even.
Yeah. Orbs are the sixth dimensional light bodies of the angelic realms. So, for example, the angels have said for a long time that they wanted to give us physical proof of their presence.
Oh.
And so what they did was they dropped seed thoughts into the minds of those who were working with digital cameras, that they would create a vibration or frequency that the angels could use to come into. So if a person is ready, they take a photograph and an orb will appear in it. Now, it'll appear normally as a round circle, but if it's got Archangel Michael energy in it, it'll be blue. If it's got Raphael in it, it'll be green. If it's got Gabriel in it, it'll be pure white, and there'll be a ring around the inside of it. So every archangel comes in with its color. There are, of course, some absolutely glorious orbs where several archangels are together, and I show some pictures of those in my Orbs book. Then there are new orbs coming in now, which are from other universes, other star systems, the beings from those star systems coming in and showing themselves in orbs. There are also orbs coming in where they've taken a geometric shape to bring healing or information, keys and codes of something into the planet. Now there are orbs, so you take a photograph somewhere and there are just literally millions and millions of orbs. Now that is a portal. You can see in those orbs that some have got a round edge to them, and you can often see a face in those, and those are angels bringing a spirit to help them pass over or to come in to be born. There are also those that have no edge. Now those are people who've been stuck for some time. They've died, they haven't seen the light, and they have been accompanied by an elemental, and the elemental is trying to draw them to a portal so that they can see the light and pass over. And so there are also orbs containing lots of spirits, the families of the loved ones coming to collect someone. So all those orbs are giving us information and are absolutely fantastic and spectacular to see.
Can you ask if they can appear, like if you're taking a picture, would that help?
Yeah, that's a lot of people who are very tuned into orbs. Therefore, they get orbs in every photograph. They learn to ask this angel to come in or that angel to do something or other, and they do.
I think I actually got a few orbs. I was up in north of Norway and I took some pictures in Finnmark, and it seems like there are like 3 orbs there. At least they look like orbs, and I was like, is that orbs? But I'm always like, no, I'm sure it's not. But I put it on Instagram and people were like, oh, that's an orb. I'm like, maybe. Yeah. So I wanted to go back to the unicorns. Because you had an encounter with a unicorn. You were sitting outside with your laptop or something like that. And then a unicorn appeared?
Well, not quite like that, but similar.
Okay.
I, like you, I just thought they were fairy tales. And I didn't, even though I was working with the angels, I really didn't have any understanding of unicorns. And then one day I was sitting there working on my laptop in the garden, and this energy appeared behind me. And I couldn't see it, but I knew it was pure white, and I knew it wasn't an angel. And then, of course, it told me it was a unicorn. And it asked me to write about unicorns in that book I was writing at that time. And then later they came back and they asked me to write a book about unicorns. And so I've also had many encounters since then. One was really amazing, where I was walking in my local forest and a unicorn appeared beside me and offered to let me ride on its back. And part of me was in the dimension with the unicorn, and another part of me was walking on the ground. Now, the interesting thing was that suddenly, with the unicorn with me on its back, moved onto a different pathway. I was still walking on the other pathway, and somebody with a dog came down my pathway. And I said to the unicorn, why did you move? Why did you take me off the path? And he said, it's because the dog would have sensed my presence and he would have been disturbed by it.
Right.
And I thought, that's so interesting.
Yeah.
Because I was living in two worlds at that time. I was perfectly aware of what was going on in both of them. But there was a split.
Wow. I gotta say you're lucky. I mean, it seems like, fantastic to experience these things. So how do they look like?
Well, they are white ascended horses. So all pure white animals carry the Christ light, and they are very evolved animals. And so the horses, when they reach that level, they pass over and they become unicorns. And I know two people who've had the extraordinary experience of seeing their pure white horses passing over and lifting up and turning into a unicorn. I mean, wow, what's that for an experience? Wow. Isn't that awesome and amazing?
Yes. Do they have wings and then this horn?
Well, the horn is the third eye opening and radiating energy. Oh. So that is the unicorn. The heart energy is the wings, and that's a Pegasus. And of course, people do see horses with both the enlightenment and their heart open. And so you can have many forms. They're just energies.
So can you give people some advice? I often ask this on how we can come in contact, like people like me, who is it doesn't come naturally, you know. So how can we?
Well, I would say the very first thing was trust. See, you're already putting what you've been saying. You have a barrier up.
Oh, yeah.
Well, if somebody has a barrier up, why would you want to break into their house? You know, a unicorn wants to come to you. An angel wants to come to you. But they don't want to have to break the wall down. And so as soon as you start trusting, then you start talking to them, thinking thoughts to them. And they're there. They're listening all the time, whether you can see them or not. And then they will leave you little signs to tell you that they've heard what you say.
So do you see them, hear them, and feel them? Are you clairvoyant, clairaudient, clairsentient?
I would say I was claircognizant.
Okay.
And telepathic. Now, claircognizance is knowing. You don't necessarily see or hear, but you just know. And that requires faith and trust. And then every so often you'll see. Now, clairvoyance is a much lower frequency.
Oh.
And so is clairaudience.
Okay.
Claircognizance is the crown chakra. It downloads from the universe. And so at that level, you just have to absolutely know that what you're given is right. And sometimes you'll see something, sometimes you'll hear something. I'm very telepathic. I will get information from the angels that way too.
Right. And I probably asked this the last time, but I have to ask again. We all do have a guardian angel, right?
Right.
Right. One or two, or it varies?
Most people have one guardian angel. Animals always have two. There are a lot of people who think that we have two guardian angels, and I think some people may well have two guardian angels. Usually, with animals, you nearly always see that there are two orbs on it. That's because it's got two guardian angels looking after it. With people, you tend only to see one orb. Now, if somebody is relaxed and comfortable, say they're having a conversation or they're at a meeting, then their guardian angel orb will be on the wall. They don't need them. But if that person is uncomfortable, that guardian angel orb will be right on their physical body.
Would you know how many guardian angels I have?
Well, I'll tell you something. For somebody who doesn't believe, you've got a lot of blue energy around you. Oh. Your guardian angel is tinted with blue, sits on this side of you, talks to you a lot. You communicate with it all the time, and you just don't trust what it communicates to you, but you follow it. Very often when you're asking questions, when you're talking on the radio, or in the other things that you do, your guardian angel is feeding you with the questions and the information.
I like the part about the blue because I'm so drawn to blue.
Yeah, and it's a very similar blue to that.
That is
so it's a blue of communication.
Right.
Basically, it's helping you to communicate your ideas, your thoughts, your fluency, your courage. Because blue is the color, that blue is the color of courage. And for what you're doing, you needed courage for your soul. Right. Someone else might not need courage. They just open their mouth and blab it out. But for you, you've had to overcome your barriers.
Oh, yeah.
And for that, you need strength. And for that, you need the angels to be supporting you.
Right. Wonderful. Well, I do believe, and I don't believe. Like, I don't get what I actually believe. I'm like forth and back. And I find that interesting because I'm like, is that possible, Janneke, to believe and not to believe in a way?
Sure it is. I think all human beings go through that.
Yeah, I guess. But I love speaking about it. So, and it was wonderful having you on my show again and to, have some questions answered. And I just, read this book, which I can really recommend. I'm not sure what it is called in English, but it's probably around...
That's Ascension through Orbs.
Ascension through Orbs. Really interesting book. Where you also learn about the masters and all the specific angels. So it's really informational as well, which I like. Well, thank you so much, Diana, and good luck with all your wonderful work.
Thank you. Lovely to talk to you again.
And thank you so much for watching, guys, and remember to subscribe to my channel if you haven't before. Much light from Norway and England. Bye-bye.